Hi everyone, welcome to another Josekis lesson. In this lesson and the next couple of lessons, let's talk about the double approach here at number 7. So we have number 5. This is the first approach. If white takes sente in this situation, black can play a double approach. So what's the deal with this Joseki? If you're a beginner or a double-digit cube player, this video is probably more helpful because I'll introduce some simple moves. They're not necessarily correct, but they might be helpful, and they're easier to remember. And if you're a stronger player, I want you to know the variations and the so-called correct variations stemming from number 7, then the next few videos will be more helpful. Well, of course, I'll talk about the basics of this double approach. The basic idea right here is to put more pressure on number 4. It's not enough to simply play something like this jump, or play this, right? You always leave number 8 right here, this spot open. And white, again, is in a pretty good shape. And if black takes the 3-3 point, this is not harsh enough. White can simply block from this side, and now after number 10, white has a pretty good shape, and black still owes a move here, right? But of course, in this situation, at this point of the game, black can still take sente. But just know that white has this push and cut, right? White can cut from one side, and black will have to take it. And we'll get to this Joseki, right, which is a Joseki stemming from the 3-3 invasion. So this way is not harsh enough. So number 7, 3-3 point, not good enough. And that is why we see the double approach all the time when white takes sente. So do you need this Joseki as a beginner? Not really, because as a beginner or double-digit cube player, my recommendation is that you always try to answer your opponent's approach to the start point, right? You always at least play something like this. When you feel like it, play a pincer, right? Play the pressing attachment, or this kick, right? All these Josekis that we've already talked about here on my channel. Why? Because traditionally, right, this is the human wisdom over the years, is that number 4 is vulnerable to this double approach. And this is a lot of pressure on the white group, right, which will develop into a group. It's only one stone now. But in the age of AI doesn't really care, right? AI just takes sente whenever and however it wants, right? So what AI is saying is that white actually has the better position here, and it is black, 5 and 7, that will be split into 2 groups and might be under attack. And if we look at the Joseki from the next couple of lessons, that actually might make sense, right? So just play this pressing attachment and extend, and white should be okay, right? You're not going to get killed. You still have a position, some ice space, potential ice space here on the corner, and most importantly, white can escape towards the center. So white is actually not really afraid. But if you're a beginner, no position is that secure for you, and you do not want your start point to come under pressure. So that is why I would highly recommend white responding to black, especially at the beginning of the game, right? It doesn't matter. Number 6 here, just any kind of answer is very valuable. So don't ignore it and take sente. If you're a beginner, if you're unsure how to handle the double approach. And fun fact, I actually didn't know the ins and outs of the double approach Joseki for many, many years. This was just not taught to me when I was starting out. Maybe the teacher thought this is just not fit for beginners, you know. But still, I got through many competitions over the years without really having to use this Joseki because I just always answered at the beginning of a game. But in the middle of the game, if your opponent plays the approach and there's something really big elsewhere on the board, you gotta address that, right? Knowing that the double approach is far from the end of the world for white, right? White can definitely maneuver and stay alive very easily. So if there's an emergency elsewhere on the board, definitely take sente and know that the worst that can happen is probably this double approach. But there are Josekis for white to kind of maneuver out of the situation. So what should white do after number 7? A few responses. The most common one will be this pressing attachment, but this is also probably the most complicated, and I'll leave that to the next couple of videos. In this video, I talk about this first, this diagonal move. It's a slow move, but you do see this in old Joseki books. And the idea is to, of course, to escape towards the center, and what black needs to do is to take the 3-3 point immediately after number 8. And the idea for white, actually, in the past, at least this was one of the sayings, is for white to take sente again. Is this doable? Actually, yes. Why not, right? We already took sente. Black has already taken your corner. If there's something else on the board that's valuable, white should go for it and take center again. What if white wants to follow up? So white has an option of blocking on this side or this side. Right? It's about the same in this type of situation at the beginning of a game. When there are other patterns right next to the corner, you can decide. The idea is to block from one side. Black must crawl here, and white will play something like this to stay on the fourth line. But it's not a good shape for white, right? It's not a good shape. Black has annoying moves like this. Now white has a cutting point here that's very hard to address. If you play something like this, then number 7 will connect back, right? If you play this, then this is an ugly shape. And of course, number 7 is not really under any pressure. It can still develop on the left side. So this is not ideal. This is far from ideal for white. So that's why a better move might be this. If you're thinking about building a wall, jumping out building a wall, better move is this small knights move, here or here. And the idea is to get to this shape, right? And number 8 is actually at a much better position. Black still owes a move here, and white can play something like this. Kind of goes back to one of the previous Josekis I introduced with pincer and the double approach. Right? You play this small knights move, and you get to this shape. So white can be satisfied, though locally it favors black a little bit. So I guess that's this move and this move, right? So these are moves that moves out, but that means black will take the corner pretty comfortably. Another move that's pretty basic to know is right here, right? The 3-3 point. I mentioned briefly in one of the previous videos that this guarantees a living shape. But the downside is that black can play this shoulder hit, right? Kind of encloses white completely. There's just no way white can come out. If white wants to start a fight, then this will be a tough fight, right? Because 14 and 16 doesn't have any ice space, doesn't have any roots. And black, these two groups are quite strong, and they have potential development on the sides. So white cannot just play a number 14, 16 and try to cut off black and start a fight. This is not viable for white. And that is why number 9 is so harsh. It really encloses white. But again, the good news, I guess, is that white can take center again. But the wall here, it's only 3 moves, but it's actually pretty solid, right? Because white cannot cut it. So this is definitely better for black, especially at the beginning of a game. Right? So if you're white, if you think you're already winning, you can probably play at number 8 and allow black to play something like this. And the thing to note here is that white is alive, even if white takes center. But of course, if you're black, the most tempting is to play this small knights move. This is actually playable for black. This is okay, right? All you need to do is to play these and kind of reinforce your wall on the outside. So white has a real eye here in the corner, but only one real eye, and needs to play this clamping move to capture another black stone, right? But with 13, 15, 17, the wall is much stronger, actually. Right? So this is playable for black. But if you want to kill your opponent, first it's not killable, but if your opponent doesn't know how to respond, then this is not the right approach, because this is probably pretty easy for your opponent to figure out that you either have to save number 11 or number 13, right? This clamping moves. Most beginners would know this move. So how do you test your opponent if you're black? You play this move right here. So you might be thinking this. It's not good enough. White can play something like this, and if it's 14 and 16 this way, then it's plenty of ice space. Right? So what black needs to do is right here. But now, white can extend back and make a living shape this way. So pretty easy for white. And the benefit of number 13 right here is that now when black pushes, it's best for white to connect here, right? If white plays here again, now black can cut off number 4, and this wall is stronger than ever, right? So this is definitely not okay for white. So white will have to connect here. 13 is a harsh move. White must play here. Black pushes, white connects. That's the sequence. Now what happens is that black will play here number 17. And now white is in a tough situation, right? You need to save number 14 for sure, but you can't just connect here. This way, black only needs to reduce white's ice space, and white is already dead, not enough ice space. And if white plays here, then it'll be a ko, right? This is a ko that I cover in the series I'm running here on my channel, the Gokyo Shumyo. I'm doing a daily update that kind of covers this very complicated move. It's going to be a ko. But our goal is for white to live with 2 real eyes, no kos. So you might be thinking this move, but this is a classic shape, right, that you just have to know how to kill. And that is for black to play the hane on the first line. White must block here, and black will play at a 2-1 point. And white is dead, right? I definitely cover this on my channel. If you play here, then this will be a fake eye, no matter what, right? 24 and 25 are me eye. Play something like this, again, black will descend here, and this way, this is still going to be a fake eye because white cannot connect here, right? So this is the basic shape for this pattern, and white is dead after 19 and 21. So what should white do? And this is where white needs to think outside the box a little bit, right? So after number 17, which is still kind of reducing white's eye space, it's necessary. White can push here. Now black must block, right? If you don't block, then white will escape, and black will have no chance of killing white. And now the next move, in preparation, is really, really important for white, and that is this hane on the first line. Now what's happening is that black must save these 2 stones by playing something like this. Right? Black cannot play at 21 because white can push, and this way black will be dead. Right? Should be relatively obvious. Right? White shouldn't cut here. Right? This way it doesn't work that well. White should push here, and of course if black captures here, white can just play at 24 and still swallow all these black stones. So black must play here. And now what happens is that white can play right here. Now black will still want to play this point, hoping white captures. Right? If white captures, then white will die again after number 25. But now what white can do is simply to make this eye. And there's nothing black can do. Black plays here, then white can play at 26. Now black cannot come in. And that's what number 20 does, right? If you don't have number 20, then number 27 is viable. But now, because of number 20, number 27 can't come in and destroy this eye at A17, right? So that's how this works. Similarly, if black plays something like this, you shouldn't fall for this, right? Otherwise, after number 27, white is going to die again. So instead, white can play something like this to swallow number 25. This way, there's nothing black can do. White will be alive. So the best black can do is probably to capture. Now number 25 can't really do anything, can't come in here. So white will be alive. So quite complicated, but the idea is to get to number 20 first, to play this exchange. Right? Set up by 18, and then number 20, forcing 21 to play here. 21 can't really ignore it. Right? If you play this, then there's 1 real eye here in the corner, and white can just capture these 2 stones to make another real eye. So this is really key. You have to know 18 and 20 in preparation of this tiger's mouth at number 22. And when black tries this move, you have to make this eye. And of course, from an endgame perspective, the best move for black is to simply to come in at number 25. And number 20 is dead, but it's serving a function, right? It's preventing black from coming in and destroying this eye. But at the end of the day, white only has 2 points, right? That's another thing to consider because you occupy the corner to start with. And now after all this, black has a strong wall on the outside, and white only has 2 points. So this is recommended for when white already has a huge advantage elsewhere on the board. And all you need to do is stay alive. And that's why you play at number 8. And this is how you stay alive. It's relatively complicated. So you definitely don't see a lot of life and death problems covered in Joseki lessons. But actually a lot of the moves, I would say the vast majority of moves, especially AI moves, are informed by potential life and death implications, right? Including Josekis, right? So that's why you need to practice life and death problems, as I emphasized again and again here on my channel, in order to understand what exactly is going on, right? Why is number 8 viable, kind of, and why is white not afraid? Because all those variations we just saw exist. Otherwise, if the conclusion is white is dead, then number 8 is definitely not viable. Then that's how it's informed by life and death. And lastly, let's just talk about what if white takes center again. Let's just say there's something else that's really important on the board. Of course, not now, but it might happen, right? So now, black again needs to play this shoulder hit that encloses white. It's always a good spot to play. when there's no pincer, right? When there's no reinforcement for white, and you are close to the corner. Always play this move. Don't just take the corner, right? This way, again, when white gets into this shape, white is not really afraid of black. The harshest thing black can do is probably this, but again, this will still be a cut sometime in the future. White doesn't need to play that now, and white can just escape, right? So it's not harsh enough. So again, black will play this. This definitely favors black. And white, if it wants to live, will have to play at the 3-3 point. So again, white will live, but black has a strong wall. That's the idea. However, in the age of AI had other ideas. So we've seen some AI games where AI was white in this situation, and it really just allowed black to play these 3 moves, which are considered very valuable. And AI would even take something again, right? Now, because white can live with the 3-3 point, black can kill it by playing at the 3-3 point or one of the small knight's moves here at the 2-4 point, here or here, right? But AI is saying it doesn't matter, which is counterintuitive, because if black takes a corner this way, then this is really strong, right? It's a huge corner, about 20 points, right? More than 20 points. And it has a strong wall kind of radiating towards the outside. But AI is saying it doesn't matter because there are other moves on the outside that can kind of limit black's potential. So that's AI's idea. And AI is also saying that black has spent way too many moves here, right? Because potentially white can get to many other moves on the board. So I think AI is not really afraid of number 9, which is kind of counterintuitive. But again, if you study AI or professional games, you might see this, right? And white will think it's okay to play. So again, it's complicated, all kinds of conclusions and opinions. But the bottom line for this lesson is that white shouldn't really be afraid. If you want to keep it simple, just play this and take Sente again. If there's something else on the board, then warrants your attention. If you're really afraid of being killed, play here. But know that black will have a strong wall on the outside by playing at number 9. Or you can try something like this. Right? This is also a nice shape for white, also playable for both sides. And in the next lesson, we'll talk about the actual Josekis, right? The correct variations as themed by AI. That stems from this pressing attachment at number 8 and this extension at number 10. And after we talk about number 7 here on the 3rd line, we'll also talk about number 7, this double approach, on the 4th line. So please stay tuned. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Good luck, and I'll see you again soon.